This is Kawazoe-bashi, a bridge that crosses the Shikugawa, a stream which runs from Nishinomiya City all the way into the Osaka Bay in that direction. Now, out of all the metropolitan areas around Osaka, why did I choose this one? Well, for two very specific reasons. First of all, because it's very pretty. I mean, look around. You can even hear the birds chirping and the crows cawing. The second reason is the beach that's associated with it. Many of the beaches around Osaka have been reclaimed for construction purposes. The beach that we're going to go to, in Omaehama Park, is one of the few beaches that has it. This has led to Omaehama Park becoming a protected area. I walked 5 minutes from the station in that direction, and now I'm going to walk 10 more minutes this way, and I'll show you guys the beach. And finally, we make it to Omaehama. If you're lucky, you'll hear or even see fish jumping behind me. And the reason why I walked all the way out here to show you this beach is because of a little thing called dissolved oxygen. The concept of dissolved oxygen isn't that complicated, but it's a measure of how much oxygen is in the water. And at levels that are too low, it becomes very dangerous. And as summers get hotter and hotter in Osaka, these levels of dissolved oxygen get lower and lower. Now, there is already a well-recorded history of hypoxia in Osaka Bay over the summers. Hypoxia being a level of oxygen that is below what we'd like to see and what is natural. What's causing these summers of hypoxia, and what are we seeing recently? Well, we're actually seeing them get longer and longer due to climate change. But another trend we're actually seeing is the decrease of total volume of hypoxic water. This is a surprisingly good trend. A professor at Osaka University went ahead and found a correlation between that and the implementation of total pollutant load control, which basically means that Osaka is polluting less into the bay. Now, how do we get to these levels of hypoxia in the first place? Well, Osaka is quite a big city, and when it was industrialized, there was no such thing as total pollutant load control, and obviously there wasn't that great of an understanding of the chemistry in water. Pollution would just flow from the city through its many, many rivers into the bay. Now, the pollution settles at the bottom and reacts with the oxygen in the water in a process called remineralization. I don't actually know much about remineralization. I'm not a chemist, and I assume many of you don't really know either, but we measure it using sediment oxygen demand, and it tells us how much oxygen the sediment is using day by day. In areas like this, right at the mouth of a river, we see high levels of sediment oxygen demand. And actually, if you go into the water, I can't right now because it's high tide. I should have came here at a better time when it was lower tide so I could actually show you guys myself. But the sand is black, and that's actually from the formation of iron oxides. I'll show you some photos. I actually went out here with a couple of professors who are doing research on this beach as well as another beach to try to record how different levels of seagrass actually impact the quality of the water. Another interesting thing about this beach in particular is that it is kind of an inlet. So water does get trapped here, and along with the water, sediment also gets trapped here. So that means that the sediment that settles here doesn't get disturbed that often, doesn't move out into the bay. And also it makes this area better to study because there's less changes from the outside world. And as you can see behind me, it's a very popular beach for many things. There's kite surfers, windsurfers, fishers. People are just sitting around and talking. If you go that way, you can even rent a bunch of kayaks or canoes, which is probably really fun. So what does all the hypoxia talk mean? Well, it means that it gets really stinky when the tide is low. I'm not joking or, saying something weird here. The water actually becomes stinky. It smells like a sewer. You walk into the water and the sand is black and there's very little seagrass. There is an initiative recently to increase the amount of Japanese eelgrass in the bay and see the results of that. But from my understanding, it's not been too long since they started this initiative, and obviously there's not a real way to speed up seagrass growth, so we just kind of have to wait for that. So hypoxic conditions are very dangerous for wildlife and make it very difficult to maintain a biodiverse ecosystem. Despite this area being protected for birds, you don't actually see that many birds. So what are the takeaways from this video? Why am I even making this? Well, first one is because it's very pretty here, as you can see. It's probably one of my favorite places in Osaka. The other reason is to kind of show you guys, or kind of give you guys an explanation of the way that we can quantify the effects of climate change. In areas like this, the effects are very obvious. By measuring the dissolved oxygen, we can very clearly track the trend that climate change is taking. And along with this, we kind of get a better understanding of how our pollution kind of affects these bodies of water. But the story is a hopeful one. Like I said before, total pollutant load control has shown to have benefits, and there are different initiatives to try and improve the water quality. Hopefully the water quality can improve, because I really like this beach. I just hope it isn't too late and that the rest of the world can take notice and follow suit.